Saving money on energy costs is on everybody's mind these days. If utility costs are an important consideration when buying your next home, or if you plan on selling your home and would like to make it more marketable to the more energy-conscious buyer of today, call New Day Real Estate at 413-531-7129. As a member of the Green Resources Council, I can help you achieve those goals.
Next item that I put down is the energy efficiency conservation block grant. Do we need to talk about that at all, or?
I can give you a quick update. Bob and I had met a while back to talk about the projects that we would like to fund through that program. And from the sounds of things, the school department has other funding sources, so it looks like the program is going to fall square on my shoulders to take advantage of. So I'm going to be trying to get that application together. It looks pretty straightforward. I didn't really see anything in there that's going to be a problem. We've already had the audits from DOER. I have enough recommendations there to cover the full 150,000 plus.
Can I ask what kind of projects you're looking at?
Sure.
I'm just curious what you're thinking of attacking.
Well, we have the boiler for the town hall, first and foremost, but we also have some smaller projects. We've got in total 9 projects. We have the retro commissioning and demand control ventilation at the fire station, insulation in the attic at the fire station. We have the boiler replacement, as I mentioned before, insulation of our steam pipes in this building, some upgrades to our hot water in this building, and I'll just want to point out that as part of this block grant, if you do any work to a building that's more than 50 years old, you need to have the Mass Historic approval. So I do have that. I actually took care of that myself, and my assistant took care of that 2 weeks ago.
Excellent.
And we just got the approval for that work.
Good.
So that's already out of the way.
Check it off.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's the only facility that was over 50 years old, by the way. So
oh yeah.
You know, that's something you have to worry about.
That makes sense.
And then at our wastewater treatment plant, we have some motor upgrades, some occupancy sensors, a water-to-air heat exchanger for some of our buildings, to heat our buildings, and some, I guess that was it. That was pretty general, so I hit 2 of them in one shot.
Nice.
So,
they all sound like very appropriate projects.
yeah.
Town can't afford to do, and we know we need to do.
Right. You know, the payback, most of them are 10 years or less. So even for an ESCO, it would probably be a stretch for them to want to consider those. So
Yeah.
you know, we're pretty happy with being able to go after all of the money. So
Yeah. Excellent.
so I may be looking for some advice on some of these. I know I have a few questions at some point that I'm going to be looking to have answered, but.
Steve, how's this building heated now?
It's oil. Yeah. Yeah, we have oil heat. We have a boiler that's
Ancient?
probably original to the building. That was upgraded. It has a new burner on it, or a newer burner on it, I should say. But the overall unit itself is very inefficient. So
Yeah, you can only do so much.
right.
Yeah. Great.
The boiler used to be heated with coal at one point.
Yeah, it was a coal boiler at one point. You're right. So you put a cow catcher on the front of it, it would look like a steam engine. It's one of those.
So you said the 9 projects total 150,000?
They exceed 150,000. So I'm going to have to pick and choose and try to pull some of the smaller projects out that we might be able to fund through the capital budget in the future. And try to get it down to that 150,000 mark.
And we also had the ESCO as a backup.
That's right. We are participating in the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission's ESCO contract, as Catherine had stated earlier. And with that, they're going to come in and do some investment grade building audits. More of the buildings than we had done through the DOER. That was a limited scope of work due to the budgets. So when that ESCO comes in, we'll actually have more projects and more opportunities to get some work done in these buildings. So we're looking forward to it. We actually, I attended a CET workshop today in Hadley with Jim Berry and Doug Albertson, Leanne Connolly, and we got some updated information on ESCOs. And one of the interesting things that I heard today is that some of the contracts are working out so well for the communities that they're able to apply the energy savings towards projects that were probably not feasible otherwise. For example, windows, which typically have a 50-year payback, sure, upwards to a 50-year payback.
Sure.
Even an ESCO doesn't want to touch them. However, if there's enough savings there, the communities can take that savings and put it towards those window projects. So that was kind of encouraging. We know we have window issues here and in some of our other buildings as well. So maybe that's something that can be done even though the payback simply isn't there.
Yep.
Because every little bit helps.
Can't go wrong. Use someone else's money and pay it back over time. It's, zero interest. Just a great way to go. And it also could include a rather large photovoltaic array at the wastewater treatment plant, if that's where we had to go for that money.
Sure.
They definitely love those clean energy projects. So great opportunities. I think we're in a good spot. Well, thanks for the update.
Question.
No, I'm sorry.
Can you just state what UNESCO means, what it stands for? Do you know?
It's an energy service provider.
Okay.
They're basically typically very large companies that are willing to put their dollars into energy conservation projects under a performance contract, which means that, again, they'll put their money forward, and over a certain period of time, you're paying back the money that they invested. But what you're really doing is paying back on your savings, your energy savings. So as your utility costs come down, that gap between where you were and then your current utility bill goes over to the ESCO to repay the financing of the project. So it's great because you're using their money and you get the energy conservation, and at the end of the term, terms vary depending upon the size of the project and if there's energy being produced. At the end of the term, then your savings are just gigantic because you're no longer paying them, you're no longer paying the utilities the big money you were before you started the project. So, the consumer, whoever that happens to be, a town, a school, whatever factory, just sees huge energy savings forever.
And how long typically is the term? Does it vary?
Yeah, it does vary, anywhere from a typical term is about 10 years. But if it's a project that's producing electricity, it can go out to 20 years. And we heard about the micro turbine project. Something like that could go out 20 years. So it's just great. It's great. It's a great way of funding a project that you could never afford to fund. Without going out for a bond issue and still paying interest on that bond. So there's a lot of good points about performance contracting.